welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, September 11th, 2019. I am Yvesta Boynes with the details. SVG is said to be further positioning itself as an important tourism player in the region. This was echoed by two government ministers at yesterday's ceremonial signing of an agreement between Marriott International and the government of SVG through the National Properties Limited at the private Mountwin beachfront. As part of the agreement, Marriott International will manage the state-owned 250-room hotel, which will be constructed at Mountwin using the Marriott Hotel brand. SVG-TV's Barvin Oliver tells us more in this report.
The ceremonial signing of the agreement between the government of SVG and Marriott International paves the way for the start of construction of a 250-room state-owned hotel at Mountwin on the leeward side of the island. Speaking at yesterday's signing ceremony, Minister of Tourism, Sports and Culture Cecile McKee said the signing comes at a time when SVG is experiencing increases in visitor arrivals in all areas. Minister McKee said the construction of a Marriott hotel on mainland St. Vincent will add significant value to this country's tourism product in all aspects. He further stated that the location at Mountwin opens up much of the natural treasures of SVG.
I can assure the Marriott that they are ideally located at this site. Indeed, 45 minutes to an hour in each direction, your guests and staff can enjoy much of the treasures that St. Vincent and the Grenadines has to offer. Your guests will have 9 bays of black sand beaches available to them. A guided tour on a hike to the La Soufrière Mountains, or if not, to less demanding areas in Richmond, where biodiversity is very strong. Or you might want to take a soak in the many pools and waterfalls on the leeward side of the islands.
Also speaking at yesterday's ceremony was Minister of Finance and Economic Planning Camila Gonzalez, who said the Marriott SVG resort will be a jewel in the crown of SVG's tourism product and a declaration of intent that SVG is on its way to becoming a major, unique, sustainable player in the tourism industry. Gonzalez said the Marriott Hotel brand has a proven track record for quality and excellence, making it the perfect choice to manage the state-owned hotel at Mountwin.
It has an inbuilt market of thousands of Bonvoy members. That's their sort of their frequent flyer club. Millions. Who will want to use their frequent stay points at new hotels in new locations. And they have a marketing system in place, not to market not only to their Bonvoy members, but to market internationally the new hotel and destination. They have, as Glenn mentioned, prior experience of successfully managing resorts on beaches with black sand, because there were some people who came to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and said, oh, this is a great spot. The only problem we see is that we're going to have to dig up all the sand and replace it with white sand. And we said we can't market a natural, sustainable, environmentally conscious site if we're going to dig up what God put here and put something else there. And Marriott had their own view, and we appreciate that view and that experience.
President of Hotel Development for the Caribbean and Latin America at Marriott International, Boyan Kumer, said the hotel brand boasts over 1 million employees and that there will be tremendous opportunities for Vincentians to gain employment and self-development during the construction and operation of the hotel.
When this hotel opens, we will operate in more than 140 countries around the world, and we will employ approximately 1 million employees in all of our franchised and managed properties. This hotel will employ approximately 250 to 300 employees, and these employees will actually have the opportunity to work for the largest hotel chain in the world, and will have a tremendous opportunity to grow their professional careers and explore the world. We're looking forward to see this hotel open its doors and welcome the first guest in a couple of years. Again, thank you very much for having me here today. I'm looking forward to returning to St. Vincent, but hopefully next time will be a vacation time for me.
That's right.
The Marriott Hotel at Mount Twin, along with the Royal Mill, are among the hotel developments taking place here for the next 2 to 3 years, and they are expected to increase the total room stock by 1,000 and open up more opportunities for investment and growth in the tourism sector. For SVG-TV's Evening News, I am Barvin Oliver.
Minister of Finance Camilla Gonzalez also used the opportunity at yesterday's ceremony to highlight some of the developments expected to take place in the central Leeward area in the coming months and years. He said the developments are not limited to hotel construction, but will also include the creation of residential and business infrastructure in the area.
Over the hill there, we have the developers of the Black Sands Resort who are building a facility, and they're currently employing over 135 people in construction there. I was in conversations with the management of the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines yesterday morning, and Derry Williams informs me that at Peters Hope there's a plan in place to use 2 acres of land to build a financial services sector system at Peters Hope. There's going to be a Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, there's going to be an NIS office, there are going to be ATMs, there are going to be facilities for other banking businesses, and very importantly, there's also going to be a police station at that location. The government is going to donate the land, and the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines will build the facility, and of course we'll have the police there, but the other facilities will be there by the private sector.
The Finance and Economic Planning Minister said other local entities have already begun to explore the creation of a residential center in the area.
The National Insurance Services and the General Employees Cooperative Credit Union, GECU, have embarked on an ambitious plan to provide 201 lots for residential development on 57 acres of land at Peters Hope. The project began conceptually in 2015 with the construction of an access road and accelerated with the commencement of consultancies to design the road and drainage network across the property. NIS and GECU have so far spent over $2 million on this plan. In August, they accepted the preliminary design report, which incorporated the design options for the Peters Hope Development Road and Drainage Network, and the cost of that road and drainage network project is $12.5 million. They're going to begin that in January of 2020 and complete it in August of 2021.
Minister Gonzalez added that the government will also be given a facelift to the communities of Layu and Barrowley.
Tourist who drives or takes a boat, because you're going to be able to check in either from the road or from the dock at this new hotel. The tourist who drives from the Argyle International Airport here is likely not going to drive back along that road until he or she is leaving to fly back to their destination. But they will, many of them, want to explore a little bit of the local scenery and the local culture. And the 2 nearest towns to here are Layu and Barrowley. And we have committed in this budget to do the consultancy services for the beautification and the improvement of amenities of Layu to the south and Barrowley to the north, to make sure that by the time this hotel is completed, when they drive through Layu, they're going to say, what a beautiful town. I have to make sure to come back and visit this town when I come to the hotel. And the residents of Layu and Barrowley will be equipped to monetize the presence of all of these hundreds and thousands of new tourists in their midst.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines is expected to become the 79th country to join the International Solar Alliance, an initiative by India aimed at combating the threats of climate change and global warming. Thank you, PM at Comrade Ralph. Welcome your sunny dispensation and warm sentiments, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar tweeted after a meeting with Prime Minister Gonzalez, who is in the Asian country on a 5-day visit. Countries which have signed the agreement until now include Bolivia, Palau, France, Australia, the United Arab Emirates, the United Kingdom, Japan, amongst others. The agreement was opened for signature during the COP 2022 in Morocco on November 15, 2016. The International Solar Alliance is a group of 121 solar resource-rich countries with headquarters in Gurugram, India. According to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the organization aims to deploy over 1,000 gigawatts of solar energy and mobilize more than $1,000 billion into solar power by 2030. Prime Minister Gonzalez yesterday met with India's President Narendra Modi. The Prime Minister and his delegation are expected to return to the state on Monday, September 16. The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Electricity Company, VINLEC, is analyzing and testing an electric vehicle which is now part of the company's fleet. The company purchased the electric vehicle, a 7-seater Nissan ENV 200, which is currently being used for courier services. Public Relations Officer Tamara Job-Sprott said the addition of the electric vehicle to the company's fleet is an indication that they are keeping abreast with advanced technologies with customers in mind.
The St. Vincent context, electric vehicles are relatively new, so we have decided that we should bring it into our country, test what is happening, share the information. So for example, our mechanic supervisor, our vehicle maintenance supervisor, Mr. Nichols, and one of his staff attended a training session in Barbados for an extended period, but to compare what is happening with the electric vehicle with what is happening with what we call our gas vehicle, and determine what sort of changes, how much electricity is consumed to run the vehicle compared with how much gas, and it will drive how we make decisions as we go forward with electric vehicles, and we'll also have the data to provide to persons who may wish to understand how electric vehicles work in our country.
A Barbados-trained vehicle maintenance technician, Andrew Nichols, said thus far the vehicle is running smoothly and explained the difference to that of a petrol vehicle.
Operates as a gas tank in comparison to a gasoline vehicle. It's a 40 kilowatt hour battery. It will have a motor, a charger, inverter, and a PCM that is in one unit that operates the vehicles. It has safety mechanisms in place that has a battery management system that monitors the battery. If the battery gets too hot or anything that is going wrong with the battery, that monitors that, and if something out of the ordinary shows up, the battery management system would shut the vehicle down. What it also does is that it monitors when you go in and press the start button for the vehicle. It monitors the voltage at the battery and the voltage at the motor. And if there's a significant difference between the voltage, it would shut the vehicle down, because then it's not sure what is happening with the voltage that is leaving the battery.
The first electric vehicle hybrid was brought in by the government and is being used by the energy unit. It is the hope that more persons here can use the electric vehicles once it is feasible for them to do so. A Dorsetshire Hill man was found dead a short distance away from his place of abode around 7 a.m. today. There were bloodstains in and outside of his home, and his body had what appeared to be a cut to the throat. As we hear in this report by Larissa Pugslicate, family members who suspect foul play are calling for justice.
The body of Rohan Garfield Mufford, also known as Yabba, a farmer who was in his late 40s, was discovered this morning in the Peppers village of Dorsetshire Hill, where he resided. The swollen body, which had a foul odour, was discovered just after 7 a.m. by a fellow farmer who had gone to tether his animals on the land that has overgrown grass. The body was a few meters away downhill from where Mufford lived in a shack. Brother of the deceased, John Mufford, said he last saw his brother on Monday last week and that he was shocked by his death, noting that his body had visible marks of violence and was already in a decomposed state.
I allowed this this morning when they wake me up and tell me come see something down here, and I come down and I recognize him. I recognize the body. He was face down and something was over his head and his throat cut.
So he had any clothes?
Yeah, I recognize from the boxer.
So just a boxer he had?
And a pants, but the boxer, up.
Mufford's relatives say the deceased lived alone in this shack for almost 4 years. At the shack, there were signs of blood stained on the ground outside, on the galvanized, and splattered on the flooring inside the shack. Lennox Mufford said he too would like to see justice for his brother.
Well, my brother passed away here. Looked like he had a struggle with someone, So I ain't much I could say about him, but it was my brother, and I loved him, even though we never used to get along day to day. That's how family are, but it's my brother still. God rest his soul. Yeah, if justice is there for it, let justice prevail, So, whoever it is, everything doesn't come one time, but when it comes slowly.
Mufford's death has not yet been ruled as a homicide, as the police awaits the results of a post-mortem examination expected to be performed on the body. Reporting for SVG-TV News, Larissa Pogsley, Kidd.
Everyone's life is valuable and every threat of suicide must be taken seriously. So says psychologist Dr. Giselle Miller as she spoke with SVG-TV News on the significance of World Suicide Prevention Day, commemorated annually on September 10th, and the signs persons can look for in their loved ones. Dr. Miller said there is no one cause for suicide, as issues such as substance abuse, depression, and anxiety can heighten the risk of suicide. Dr. Miller said a preoccupation with death, as well as constant research into ways on how it can be done, are signs to look out for with a suicidal person.
For different avenues or means, so that they're trying to figure out what is the mode I should use, whether to use hanging, taking pills, putting a knife to their wrist, or whatever the case is. They are examining or investigating different ways in which they can do it. Feelings of depression, feeling trapped, feeling a sense of hopelessness and helplessness. We also look at persons who are not only preoccupied with death, but persons who begin to make plans for their own death. So they begin to put things in place, probably distributing property or any possessions that they have. Persons who isolate themselves, you see a change in personality. So perhaps they were very outgoing and suddenly they have withdrawn. They became isolated. Persons who are quite anxious. Persons with unexplained mood swings. These are some of the warning signs that we have to look out for.
The psychologist also has some important advice for parents.
Parents also need to pay attention to children who may have been cutting themselves. Self-mutilation is seen as a precursor or an introduction to the whole idea of suicide, because the first attempt of actually hurting yourself is the hardest. It becomes easier after that. So you want to look at your child's wrist. Some of them may cut their sides or their legs, their upper thigh. You need to also look out for that, because that is a serious warning or marker, a red flag for suicidal threat. Persons who are determined to commit suicide will seek out times when they're going to be alone, because they want to make sure that no one will be there to save them or to help them. Everyone's life is valuable, and we have to take every threat of suicide seriously.
There are several entities and organizations which can provide help and guidance to those who have suicidal thoughts, and psychologist Kimberly Cambridge explained how and where these persons can seek help.
If you or a loved one is considering suicide or having suicidal thoughts, there is hope and there is help. The Mental Health Center is available to assist you. The Milton Keaton Memorial Hospital, the non-governmental organization of the Marion House, the psychology department at the Milton Keaton Memorial Hospital, any trusted spiritual advisor or pastor or counselor, and a friend that you really trust, you can reach out to any of those persons, as well as the Family Affairs Department at the Ministry of National Mobilization. So if you or anyone that you know is in need of assistance or help, and having suicidal thoughts, you can reach out to any of those organizations.
According to the International Association for Suicide Prevention, every year suicide is among the top 20 leading causes of death globally. It is responsible for over 800,000 deaths, which equates to one suicide every 40 seconds.